Thank you, everyone, for being here and covering this important case. My name's Justin Simmons. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas. I also want to thank some of the folks behind me today. Eric Fuchs, who's the lead AUSA on this case, prosecuted the case, presented the case at trial. His trial partner, Sarah Spears, who's not here today. Also want to thank Asset Forfeiture AUSA Ray Gattinella, who's also here, for his work in getting the assets, seizing the assets in this case. Other AUSAs that helped out with this case, AUSA Amanda Brown, who helped with the initial response to this case 3 years ago on this day. We also want to thank our legal support staff who did so much to put together all the discovery and all the evidence in this case and make sure it was properly stored and produced to defense counsel, and also thank Joe Cantu and his team in our litigation support section for their work in making sure everything was properly organized and everything was properly marked and presented at trial. This truly was a cooperative effort, and that cooperation required our law enforcement partners who are also represented here today. I'd like to thank all our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners who participated in this case in all their different capacities. Truly was a cooperative effort, and this is what good law enforcement looks like, when you've got multiple agencies coming together, nobody caring who gets the credit, and just getting the job done. And today was not the end of the job. There are other defendants that still have to be sentenced, and at least one that has to be a case that may be tried. But this was a major milestone in this case, with these individuals effectively going away for the rest of their lives. That is justice in this case. And while these sentences were good and right, it is right that these men are taken out of our public lives for the rest of their lives. These sentences will never fill the void experienced by these families. And you could hear that hurt, you could hear that pain in the letters, if you were in the courtroom, in the letters that Mr. Fuchs read. I was sitting there. You think a lot about the victims and their families, but you don't think about all the spin-off consequences that the families experience. Mothers who now have to work a lot more maybe than they used to, so they're not seeing their kids near as much. Family members who experience so much stress at the loss of their loved ones that their own health deteriorated and they subsequently passed away. You just don't think about those things. And so those things are very important for us to remember. And while the sentences today will never completely fill the void that these men carved into the hearts of these victims' families, I hope it at least helps them a little bit with the healing process. I hope they can find solace ultimately in the fact that these men will never breathe free air again. I also want to talk a little bit about the fact that we should make sure that the deaths of these 54 people and the injuries suffered by the other 11 are not in vain. So my message to those who are south of the border and may be considering coming across in a manner similar to this: cartels do not care about you. They do not care about your hopes and dreams. They do not care about your desire for a better life. They care about money, first and foremost. They care about money first and foremost. There were 64 people in this tractor trailer. The estimate is they paid at least $12,000 each. That's $768,000 that the cartels made off of this group of people. This trip alone, $768,000. They're still enjoying that money over there in Mexico. It's not like they give the money back when you die or when you get picked up by law enforcement. They're still enjoying it. From November of 2021 through June of 2022, it's estimated that this cell moved approximately 1,100 people across the border. At $12,000 apiece, that's over $13 million in revenue to the cartel, just from this cell. The reality is the cartels have made billions of dollars smuggling humans across the border over the last several years. The United States has taken a whole-of-government approach to combating alien smuggling and illegal immigration. And by doing that, by taking this whole-of-government approach, we've effectively shut off a major income stream for the cartels. In addition to that, we've also made it much harder for them to move their drugs across the street because across the border. They use these humans to disguise their drug loads. And because of our work, because of our cooperative efforts, it's much harder for them to move poisons like fentanyl and other drugs across the border. To be clear, our goal as the United States government, the Department of Justice, and the U.S. Attorney's Office is the 100% complete eradication of Mexican drug cartels. That's our mission. That's what we're going to do. But all of this rhetoric doesn't heal the wounds that the victims that are still with us and the victims' families, the families of those who passed away, the wounds that they suffered. So my prayers for them are for fond memories and hopefully some degree of healing, though those wounds will never be completely healed. Please know that the United States government will work to hold everyone responsible for the deaths of these 54 people to account, and we will do everything we can to make sure tragedies like this don't happen again. And with that, I'll turn it over to HSI Special Agent in Charge Craig Larrabee.
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Simmons. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here this morning. My name is Craig Larrabee, and I'm Special Agent in Charge for Homeland Security Investigations here in San Antonio. Today's sentencings are the result of a far-reaching investigation and a tireless commitment by HSI and our law enforcement partners to dismantle the deadliest human smuggling operation in U.S. history. Both defendants were central players in an organization that conspired to smuggle thousands of people across the U.S.-Mexican border. Exactly 3 years to the day, these men loaded 64 people, including children and a pregnant woman, into a tractor-trailer with no functioning air conditioning and sent them through the South Texas scorching heat. As temperatures inside the trailer soared, the conditions became fatal. In total, 54 people lost their lives, 6 of them children. These human beings paid thousands of dollars for a journey that ultimately cost their lives and ended in unimaginable tragedy. Today, Felipe Ordonez Torres was sentenced to life in prison. This is a just and necessary outcome for a man whose greed cost so many lives. His co-defendant, Gonzalez Ortega, was also dealt a significant sentence of over 87 years. Today, the American justice system prevailed. While law enforcement on our southern border has worked tirelessly and successfully to decrease illegal crossings, we cannot let our guard down. Smuggling organizations continue to adapt, using increasingly dangerous and sophisticated methods to avoid detection. Even in times of low activity, the threat still remains. We must remain vigilant because behind every smuggling attempt is a human life put at risk. This case serves as a stark reminder human smuggling is not a service. It's a deadly criminal enterprise. And HSI will pursue the smugglers relentlessly wherever they operate. No one who participates in smuggling of a human will escape the reach of our justice. I want to extend my sincere thanks to the agents, the attorneys, the support staff that made this all possible, as well as our first responders and the medical personnel and our partners at every level of government who contributed to this case. Through everyone's hard work that got us here today, we honor the memory of the victims and we remain committed to our mission to pursue the criminal networks so we can prevent tragedies like this from ever happening again. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to congratulate the United States Attorney and the Special Agent in Charge for Homeland Security here in San Antonio. It's important for people to understand the outlay of resources and time and effort that goes into something like this. Putting that to one side, any of you who watched the trial and the sentencing would have seen this. The level of professionalism and excellence in the way this trial team presented the facts of this case is significant. It is not easy to do what they did, and it deserves recognition. My name is Ian Hanna. I am one of the associate directors of Joint Task Force Alpha, JTFA. JTFA was created 4 years ago to detect, defeat, and disrupt alien smuggling rings such as these, both in the United States and overseas. The Attorney General has empowered and elevated us, and we now operate directly out of her office. This case is exactly the kind of case that we look forward to partnering on. We look forward to the resolution of the case against the remaining defendants, but especially the case against Mr. Rigoberto Miranda Orozco, who I'll remind you was extradited from Guatemala to face charges on this case. His extradition from Guatemala to the United States and others like that extradition send a message to alien smugglers overseas. That message is this: if you think that you are safe because you find yourself outside of the confines of the United States, you are incorrect. If your crime touches the United States, we are going to reach out and touch you. We will devote whatever resources required to investigate you, to find you, and to prosecute you, either in the country where you are in partnership with our overseas partners, or extradite you to the United States to face justice in an American courtroom. I have some brief remarks in Spanish, and I'm doing those because it's important that this message reaches your audience, both in the United States and overseas. Buenos días de antemano a la familia, los familiares de los fallecidos y aquellos que sobrevivieron a la tragedia de este caso, nuestras condolencias. Esperamos que el resultado en este caso sirve para que ustedes puedan seguir su viaje en sanarse de sus heridas corporales, tanto como sus lesiones mentales y emocionales. Mi nombre es Ian Hanna, yo soy el codirector de la Fuerza Tarea Conjunta Alfa. Cadena perpetua. Cadena perpetua y más de 80 años, 87 años en prisión. Con respecto a los dos condenados, en este caso, justicia cumplida. Tenemos dos mensajes respecto a este caso. Primero, al migrante. Esta tragedia es un ejemplo de las horribles consecuencias que pueden suceder cuando confías a esta gente. ¿Y a quién me refiero cuando hablo de esta gente? Me refiero a los coyotes, a los polleros, a los líderes de las organizaciones transnacionales que se dedican a hacer rendir ganancias de su sufrimiento. Estas redes no les están ayudando. En realidad es totalmente al contrario, se están aprovechando de ustedes. Porque el coyote, para el pollero, ustedes no son seres humanos, son cajitas, son cosas desechables. Así es de que, por favor, antes de meterse con esta gente, antes de encomendar sus seres queridos, sus hijos, sus hijas, sus esposas, usted mismo, piénsalo muy bien, piénsalo muy bien. Todo tiene remedio, menos la muerte. Segundo, para el delincuente, para el coyote, para el pollero, para el líder, los líderes de estos grupos. Si usted se dedica a lucrarse en este tipo de negocio ilícito, pronto o tarde nosotros llegaremos por ti. No importa si se encuentra dentro del territorio nacional de Estados Unidos o el extranjero, llegaremos por ti. Si su crimen toca a los Estados Unidos, nosotros nos vamos a tocar a usted. Gracias.
No, that's an excellent point. We know the Mexican prison system is quite a bit more luxurious than what we have here in the United States. So that is definitely something we're going to make sure happens. We'll have communication between BOP and DHS to make sure that doesn't slip through the cracks and make sure he serves all his time here in the United States.
No, we haven't had a chance to touch base with them after the sentencing. There were 14 different victims' families that I'm aware of that were present on the Zoom call watching. Some of them had given statements that we read. Some of them hadn't and said it was just too painful to even give a written statement ahead of time, but they wanted to be present to witness that sentencing. We're very gracious for the court for setting that up. That's a rare occurrence in federal court, but he made that so they could watch from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Honduras, and they did just that.
Well, I mean, I think that's exactly what we did. I mean, you hold the cartels accountable by making sure the guys who facilitate the movement of people here in this way go to prison for a long, long time. These guys will spend the rest of their life in prison. So that's what we're doing. And the message is also do not come to the United States illegally. Hopefully something like this doesn't happen to you, but we are firm in our commitment to stopping the illegal movement of people from south of the border into the United States, and in part to prevent tragedies like these, to prevent things like this from happening to other people. Well, that's really outside of my purview. If Congress wants to change the process, they can do that. We're going to enforce the law as it's written right now. That's not really in our purview. That would be a BOP decision based on their circumstances and what's going on at whatever facility they end up at. I'll ask Mr. Fuchs if he would address that.
Mr. Miranda Orozco is the only one still pending trial that's unresolved. He just got here from the United States, I think it was back in March, or from Guatemala back in March, and so we're working through the discovery process and having conversations with his attorney to feel how that case develops. Everybody else that has been charged in this case, which I think was an additional 6 defendants, have pled guilty. Those sentences are all set currently in December of this year before Judge Garcia, and so we will wait and see what sentence each of them gets at that time. I did the number off the top of my head, but if I count through them, around that. Thank you.
I hope so. I hope people take it that way as a warning, like do not participate in this activity. We will find you, you will be held accountable, and you will go to prison for a very, very long time. That's the message we want people who would consider this to hear today.